Welcome to Hope Institute's Child First Care series. In these videos, we will introduce you to some practical ways you can equip children to thrive. Today, we're talking about continuity of care. What do we mean by this phrase? Simply put, continuity of care means that a child forms a consistent, long-term relationship with one or two primary caregivers in their lives. One of the real issues for children in out-of-home care is that they tend to experience great turnover in caregivers. This is just as true, and sometimes more so, for children in foster care settings as it is in residential programs. Some studies have found that children in out-of-family care may experience as many as 50 caregivers in their first years of life. Guess what? These children have trouble learning to trust, to relate, to form relational bonds. This is where we see an almost constant stress response in children. Children coming into care have often already experienced serial abandonment. But what happens to them in care can perpetuate a reality of abandonment for them. And so what we do not want to do is to make your center a place where they continue to feel rejection or loss of relationships or abandonment. Think about how your program operates, especially in the area of relationships. One arrangement that is often seen in residential programs is a chief administrator, often the founder of an organization that is considered the mom or the dad for all the children in care. And the actual caregivers are essentially surrogates for this sometime present parent. Think about how this might impact a child in care. Such an arrangement impedes the development of familial relationships with primary caregivers and does not allow children to see how a working family functions. Many, maybe most residential programs promote, progress, or graduate children through a series of home settings based on age. Without question, such arrangements are measurably easier for organizations and caregivers. They allow consistency of rules within the home, same bedtimes, same chores, the same privileges, the same responsibilities. Programs can have age specialists, primary caregivers who work especially well, for example, with preschoolers or young adolescents. While this works great for the program and caregivers, maybe it's not so good for the children in care. Think back to the introduction to this series. This is one of those places where we consciously choose to put the needs of children first. For them, this is a really, really serious matter. We have talked before about the stress of trauma, about emotional regulation. Think deeply here about how not having an emotional anchor is going to impact a child in care. If they do not feel that they have a safe place of a consistent, long-term relationship with an adult in their lives, you're going to see behaviors that reflect their insecurity. So, how do we fix this? I would like you to think about how families often look. The family environment, while certainly varying somewhat across cultures, usually consists of a small group of children, a mixture of different ages, a few primary caregivers, the parents, responsible for raising the children, and they are helped by a relatively small set of secondary caregivers, usually extended family and friends. Their interactions are relatively consistent and stable in the child's lives. Very important in healthy families is that these interactions are focused on the well-being of the child rather than the convenience of the family. Again, back to that foundational principle of child first care. These characteristics are critical for a child to learn to trust, to form bonds, and to care for others. Does this sound like your program? If not, let's get there. Perhaps the most important thing that can happen to a child in care is to know that the primary caregiver with whom they form an initial bond is going to be there for them today, tomorrow, and throughout their childhood and adolescence. This is someone that knows them, that understands what triggers stress responses, that knows how to manage the outbursts that come from dysregulation. Ranking a very close second is the constancy of relationships within the family, however it may be constructed. Here are 3 guiding principles to help you make sure that your kids experience continuity of care. First, let the children stay in the same home throughout their time in care. Don't age progress your children through different homes. Let them experience growing up and having consistent relationships reinforced as long as they are with you. Then second, empower your caregivers to truly be family for your children. Make the house parent the primary adult in the child's life. Let them make the discipline choices. Let them be the child's advocate in education. Let them be there for a child's success or failure on the soccer field, at the school play, in the choir program. Make that relationship primary. Finally, and this is really important, intentionally encourage the building of lasting relationships even beyond the primary caregiver. Research shows that children are most likely to thrive when they have multiple role model relationships in their lives. While it is important to have that lasting primary relationship, having a strong uncle or aunt or teacher can be a real buffer for a child when the inevitable transitions of life occur. But in all of this, remember, developing that net of security of constant relationships for a child gives them a foundation on which to build their life. If you liked this video, check out some more of the resources on our site and be sure to let us know how developing continuity of care is working for you.